welcome to this week's episode of The Money Drill, the show that's dedicated to helping you drill down to the reliable retirement solutions for you. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined by Eric Morgan. He is the president of Retirement Financial Group right here in Southeast Texas. Eric, my friend, it's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Kristen. Always a great time to see you.
I know. Well, likewise, I feel the same way, and I love that we always get the update on your family. He has a beautiful family who is very involved in this process as well. And recently, you got to celebrate your 12th wedding anniversary. Congratulations!
Thank you. It's a big milestone, right? I mean, that she put it with me for that long. You know, she is such a great lady. You know, she's so patient, so kind, and I always tell everyone that she's blind. You know,
my husband says the same thing, and I'm like, don't say that.
You know, like she's blind, so she doesn't really know what she's getting. You know, but I'm super thankful for her. 12 years, and then we got 3 just awesome kids, 𝗪𝐶, Ezra, and Emmett, and life would be dull without them around for sure.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you're getting some time away to celebrate.
We hope so. That's our plan.
I know how busy you are. My gosh, between the TV show and you've got so many people that you're meeting with, so hopefully you can enjoy some time away.
Yeah, we're trying to do that so that. You know, that helps mama's sanity, right?
Yes, right.
Keeping mama sane is really important, right? For me and for the kids.
Yes, happy wife, happy life, right?
That is a true statement. That is a true statement.
Well, I know you've put together another fabulous show for our viewers at home. This show is dedicated all to the viewer, to you, to help you receive the right financial education to get those reliable retirement solutions for you. And today we're going to be talking about a very important subject that it always amazes me, Eric. A lot of folks are not aware of this subject. So just to set the tone, I want to share a story. Recently, I was talking with a friend of mine. She is 65, very hardworking. She's been putting a ton of money away for retirement. Her husband is 70. And I was having dinner with them, and I was talking about being on the show and different subjects that we cover. And I happened to mention the word RMD. Because they had asked me, as it typically happens, people start asking me generic questions about their own financial situation.
For sure, no doubt.
And so I started sharing about how it was so important for them to start strategically planning for their RMDs. And they both looked at me and they literally said, "What is that? We've never heard this term before." And what blew my mind is that they had already shared that they had been working with another financial advisor for several years.
Oh, wow.
And yet this term had never been brought up to them. So I have heard the term RMD stand for, jokingly, really mean and dastardly, or rotten, miserable, disgusting. That's not what it stands for, so why don't you take it away, share with us what it actually stands for.
You bet. So it stands for required minimum distribution. And that story that you told, I hear that all the time. I see it all the time, you know, and I don't really understand, you know, and I'm not picking on people, you know, any advisor, I call it, can Monday morning quarterback another advisor, right?
Okay, say that again.
Any advisor can Monday morning quarterback another advisor, right? I mean, someone can take my plan and what I do and pick it apart the next day. Anyone that knows what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So we all make mistakes. However, it never ceases to amaze me how so many advisors have blinders to these deals, right? Where they have to. They have this, we really have an obligation, a duty to the client to make sure they're educated. One of the, you know, we've talked before about how we do things different. Right? We want to bring purpose. We want to help people identify that purpose. But one thing that I think that we do really well is educating the client about all that's out there, right?
Right.
So that they can make a good, informed decision, right?
With their hard-earned money.
With their I didn't work for that money.
Right.
That advisor, another advisor, you work for that money. So you need to be educated to the extent that you want to be educated on exactly what all is at stake here, what all is at play. So the required minimum distribution, so basically what it says is super convoluted. But basically it's the government has allowed you to defer pay. Or defer taxes. I'm sorry, defer taxes. So defer paying taxes is where I was going.
Right.
So defer paying taxes. So basically, you make $100,000, you put in 15%, so it's $15,000 a year, and every year that is deferred, it's invested inside of a 401k or an IRA. So it's invested, or a 403b.
Right. Whatever workplace
retirement plan you have, and it grows and grows. So you put in, you know, $15,000 a year, 20 years, you got, you know, 1.5 million, whatever the number. And all of that now is subject to future tax.
Yes.
Right? And so the government at some point, it's basically you have if you think that you're debt-free, I have so many clients come in and say, and they're very proud, and they should be.
Yes.
I'm debt-free.
Right.
Which what they really mean by that is saying, I have no house note, I have no car notes, I owe no one anything.
Right. No credit card debt.
No credit card.
Right. Yeah.
Except for you have $1 million or 500,000 or 200,000, so whatever number you have, and a qualified account, which is qualified for future taxation. You owe somebody something, and you owe the federal government.
Right.
And it's kind of, you know, Clark and I, we kind of say that you have a silent partner in your money. And it's the only silent partner that can dictate the terms and change the terms whenever they feel like it.
Right. Without your consent.
Without your consent, you know. You know, the penalty, for example, used to be if you didn't take your RMDs appropriately, there was a 50% fine.
Yes, 50% fine on top of the tax that you owed.
Correct. Right, so if that's 20%, you've lost 70% of the dollar.
Yes.
So that law has now changed. It's only 25%.
Yeah, oh, how nice of them.
It's
Let's just pause
generous.
on that, right? How generous. It's only 25%
Only 20,
now.
It's still absurd,
right?
you know?
Yes.
But they changed the tax rate.
We get worked up about this.
I'm very passionate about this, right? Taxes, I hate taxes. You know, someone says, when do you file your taxes? I'm like, the very last minute. So for me, that's October 15th. That's when I write my check to the government, because I don't want them to hold on to my money any longer than they should.
Yes.
And so, but anyway, these RMDs, the federal government says, I want my money. And at some point, you have to start paying them.
Yep.
That point is 73. So you're required to take distributions at that age every year.
Yes.
Going forward.
Right. And again, that was another recent change, because it used to be April 1st of the year, following the year, you turned 70 and a half, and then it was 72. Now it's 73. It might be going up to 75, right? I mean,
correct.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot.
There's a lot. It's always changing. Yeah. Always. And I think that's what you got to know is RMDs are incredibly complex, really.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah. Convoluted, horrific rules.
It's like anything else the government gets involved with, right? It's like Social Security, there's 7,000 something laws, right, or rules. RMDs, there's so many things that affect it.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and they can trip you up if you're not careful. And that's like, it's really important to be working with someone that understands RMDs, that's looking out for your best interest. And that's why I'm saying that the advisors that are not covering this in their client review meetings, you know, and again, the time to cover it is not 73, it's 62, 63. What are we doing to plan for those?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And are there more tax efficient ways that we can get that money out of the account than waiting for the RMD to come? Right? Because RMD says, if you have a TRS pension, say you have your wife has a TRS, or husband has a TRS, you have Social Security, and you're living on those things, and say you have an annuity through your workplace, so you're making $6 or $7 grand a month, and you got $1 million in a qualified account.
Right.
Whether you want the money or need the money, the government says, I'm going to get my money. And what they mean by that is they want that tax revenue off of that.
It's an IOU.
It is an IOU. So there is a debt on your dollar that you have to pay at some point in the future. You know, and I think that's what so many people are unaware about. And I'm not saying they're ignorant. They've never been told.
Exactly.
And it's like this, it's this dirty secret that we've been keeping. It's like, no, we want to get that exposed. We want to, it's like that, you can plan around that, right? And so if you're out there not knowing about RMDs and how that might affect you, I mean, how will that affect your kids? We're going to talk about that after a while, right? I mean, there's so many things to kind of go into this strategy that I think is really, really important that you should be considering with your advisor. And if you're not, you should be asking them, how come I haven't heard about this? How come we're not planning? Are there strategies? And again, strategies, there's no one size fits all, Kristen.
Right.
I can't do the same thing for everybody. We're not cookie cutter, right? Everyone's situation is different. However, and some people, I'm going to back up on that, they just hate paying tax early. No matter what, I cannot get it through their head that it's cheaper today than it will be in the future, in my opinion.
Right.
Along with everybody else in this industry believes
That's the way the trend is going.
That's the way taxes will go up. But they still don't like paying the tax early. And so it's hard for them to get around this idea of paying the tax early before the RMD gets there. But my point being, if that's you, if you're sitting there wondering, do I have the right strategy for my RMDs? What are RMDs? I have no idea. You need help. You want help. They can help you plan for your future, help you plan for the future of your family. Call the number on your screen. Come in and see us for a complimentary consultation. We're going to meet with you, get that initial plan, get that fact-finding information, develop this proposal for you, and kind of give you the value that you might be missing in your current financial plan, right?
Absolutely.
We want to help you do that.
Yeah, awesome. Eric, thank you so much.
bet.
To our viewers at home, we have so much more to get into today on this important subject and what you need to understand and know about them. But we encourage you during this break, this is a great time for you to pick up the phone, call that number on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591, to get your complimentary written financial plan from Eric and the team at Retirement Financial Group. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few simple questions, and then a member of the team will reach out to you and connect with you for you to come in and get your complimentary written financial plan that way as well. We have much more to get into, so stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
I'm an engineer by degree, and so I was working for ExxonMobil coming out of college, and then went to Motiva or Shell after ExxonMobil and spent a few years there. And I ended up working just a ton of hours. Loved my job, loved the people. I love what I did, but two things were kind of the catalyst that kind of pushed me on. One was, I had 2 kids at the time, and I would go to work at 5 a.m. I would get home 5 to 6 p.m. They were young, so they were going to bed early, and so there was very limited time I would get to see them in the evenings. And 2 days a week, due to our church activities, I didn't get to spend any quality time with them at all. That, coupled with my mom passing away at a young age of 52, just weeks after my dad retired. Those two things coupled together, the lack of time with my own children that I was seeing as a progression, and then my mom passing away, said, it's time for a change. I don't want to do this anymore. Honestly, early on, I thought I was crazy. I was like, why did I leave that great job to start all over again? And I just realized that I didn't want to spend my whole life working behind the refinery gates. I'd rather take the skills that the Lord had given me to go help people like my mom and dad maybe retire sooner so they could spend more time together.
Well, welcome back, Southeast Texas. You're watching The Money Drill. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Eric Morgan, president of Retirement Financial Group. And today we are drilling down on this important subject of RMDs and what you need to know about them. And I know you shared before the first commercial break that, the rules are incredibly complex, very horrific. When folks try to do these calculations on their own, they can often fall into several traps that can be very detrimental to them, and we're going to get into those traps in just a little bit. But I want to back up, as we say on the show, back the truck up, right?
That's right. That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about when that first RMD is due, because even that rule is very confusing.
It is. They say the RMD, the deadline to taking your RMD is December 31st each year, except for your first RMD,
right,
which you can go all the way out to April 1st so you turn 73 this year,
right,
2023.
Yep.
You can take your first RMD up to April 1st of 2024.
Right, so you can wait until the April 1st following the year you turn 73.
Pretty much, that's your 4-month grace period, right?
I always like to say it's an April Fool's joke, right? April 1st, right? Is that why they picked it?
I mean, it's like, who does that, right? Why would you wait? Because then, there are some strategies where you might would wait, but by and large, if you wait to take it that year,
right,
for the previous year, now you have to take another distribution that year, because you don't get to delay that distribution every time.
Exactly.
It's that first one.
Right. So then you have to take 2 in the same year, and
That's right.
that can just wreak havoc on your taxable situation.
That is correct. I have one client whose RMD is, right around $70,000 a year.
Wow.
You know, and they're not even living off of it. They're living off pensions.
Right.
And so that really pushes them into a different tax bracket.
Yep.
You know, and so really being strategic about that RMD and how you utilize it, and it's so, again, it's so convoluted. If you push it, that can affect your Medicare premiums, right? And so many other things that really people are really in the dark about.
Right.
You know.
Yep. So just because you can wait till April 1st of the year following the year you're 73 doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best option.
Yeah,
for sure.
you can, doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
You might need to, but
right.
It's not a one size fits all.
Exactly.
You know?
Okay. So let's now unpack a little bit more about what the calculation is based on. And we're going to keep this a little bit high level, but it is important to understand all the factors that come into play.
Yeah, you have things from your age, the size of your account value, December 31st, right? And that's the other thing. If you delay it by those 4 months, well, then you got to do a different calculation for that second distribution for your first year.
Because it was based on a different December 31st account value.
That's right.
Is it any wonder this is confusing?
And then you have your age, your account value, your beneficiary's age. So who is receiving your money? We're like, why does it matter about my beneficiary's age?
It's an interesting one, right?
And their relationship to you.
Yeah, so talk about that.
I mean, there's different ways, from a beneficiary perspective. If it goes to your spouse, the spouse has different privileges. So if I pass away, my IRA money or qualified funds would go to Caitlin. She would open up an IRA and it would just go straight to her. She would not have to open up an inherited account, and she would not have to follow the RMD rules.
Right.
If my kids, if Caitlin's gone and my kids receive it, well, now they have to open up an inherited account. That inherited account has to follow the RMD rules of the original account holder.
Right.
And I think about I have a client who's unfortunate. Her son passed away and gave money to his mother, who has passed away, who is now giving money to siblings, his siblings.
Okay.
So now to do the RMD calculation, you got to go all the way back to that original account holder,
man,
right?
yeah.
And it is ridiculous. I mean, that means someone's keeping up with all the files,
Right.
right? You got to know those dates. You got to know their death date, their birth date. All those things play a role.
Wow.
And so it's again, I think we mentioned this on the previous, for the commercial, was the government's involved. They have written it so convoluted, they made it so convoluted that no ordinary Joe, and I'll say ordinary Joe meaning people that aren't in this every day,
Right.
they can't just walk in and do this.
No, and it's almost like they've done it on purpose to try to trip people up, because as we said earlier, if you get the calculation wrong, you can easily be hit with that 25% penalty.
That's right.
Right? I mean,
and yes, and there are, Schwab, AARP, Fidelity, they all have these calculators out there. But there again, it's like, well, are you putting in the information correctly? Are you looking at the full comprehensive picture?
Right.
Whenever you do this?
Yeah.
I think it's really important that all this plays into effect of the RMD strategy, the tax strategy, the healthcare strategy. See, again, income affects Medicare.
yes.
Income affects taxes.
Yep.
All that needs to come into a consideration whenever you're looking at a holistic financial plan. And the fact is that these big box firms, the reason why they're not talking about some of these things, they might mention RMDs as they have to, but the reason why they're not being proactive in it is because they're not allowed to.
Right.
Right? It's like you're not the tax expert.
Yep.
Your job is the tax guy to tell the client to tell you how much the RMD should be.
Right.
Right? Your job is to invest the money. It's not for you to tell them how to be more efficient in that distribution or be more efficient with your RMDs. Your job is to invest the money.
Yep.
And that's all you do. Which, hey, that's okay. But that is not a comprehensive financial plan, is it?
Not at all.
It's like what I hate going to the doctor. I hate, when my mom was in the hospital, she had the team of doctors. And Dr. 1 would be her GI doctor. He'd walk in, he would say something. And Dr. 2 would be specializing in liver, and Dr. 3 and something else. Point being, they would all walk in and they would say contradictory things.
That's so frustrating.
And it's like, well, who do I listen to? Because
Right.
Dr. A said this, Dr. B said this. And if you've ever been to a hospital, you've been there, right? All these people say different things.
Yep.
Because they're not on the same playing field.
Right.
They're not on the same page. And so, unless you go to MD Anderson where everyone's on the same page, they're completely different deal. But point being, your financial advisor, your tax advisor, your lawyer, all those things. And even if you think you don't need it, you do. You do need a lawyer. We talked about this yesterday. You need a lawyer for estate planning. To look at Ladybird deed, is that an option for you? You need a tax accountant, a tax planner, not a tax preparer,
Right.
that helps you with this,
Yes.
that your financial advisor is working with, because it's all these things, Kristen, they're interlinked.
They are.
Right?
Yep.
And so you have a much more robust financial plan that can be relied upon. That way, whenever you go and you're on that vacation, or you're dreaming of doing something with the grandkids, you don't have to worry about all this stuff in the background. Your team has your best interest at heart, and they're doing that for you.
Right.
So if that's where you're at, if you're sitting there thinking, I do want to dream again, I do want to have a team holistic approach. Now, I don't have CPAs that work for us. I don't have an attorney that works for me. But I think one thing that we've done really well is develop those relationships and the trust with firms in the area, whether it be an attorney or CPA, that trust us that we can meet with.
Right, you partner with them.
I partner with them,
Yes.
right? I mean, and by partnership, it's like I'm not giving them money to do business with me, and vice versa. We're not exchanging money. It is a genuine partnership for the best interest of the client. The client pays the attorney, then they pay the CPA, and then they pay me.
Right.
Right? So that we make sure we're all on the same page.
Yes.
And so if you're wondering, do I need a plan like that? If you're wondering it, you probably do, right? You probably need that plan. So call us, come into the Beaumont office or the Nederland office. Let us meet with you. Let us walk through that with you. Let us look at your health care. Let us look at your estate planning. Let us look at your tax planning and ensure that your plan is comprehensive. And it's free. I mean, the first meeting is a fact-finding and a get-to-know-you, an introduction-style meeting, understanding your values, your habits, your character, your purpose. And then the second meeting, we develop this plan and we present this to you. And it's not going to be a 35-page plan. It's going to be 5 or 6 pages where you know what you're getting. It's easy to read. It's for the lay person. It's for the blue-collar worker. It's for guys like my dad that knows how to operate an oil and gas derrick, but doesn't know a thing about financial planning. That's what we do. We help people like you. So call us today. We'd love to help you.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, here's the great news. It might be new to you, but it's not new to Eric and the team at Retirement Financial Group, and they would love to help you and serve you any way that they can. Call that number on the bottom of the screen, 866-688-2591, or you can scan that QR code to get connected for your complimentary written financial plan. When we come back, we're going to be diving quickly into some of the common traps that folks fall into with their RMDs so that you can make sure you avoid making these same mistakes. We'll be right back.
Our team, both at the Nederland and Beaumont locations, are all top-notch. They love people. That was one of the main criteria that we wanted. We wanted someone that loves people and that would engage with the people well, our clients well, and make sure the clients know that they are cared for the moment they walk in the office, the moment they leave. I've actually asked my wife a few times, like, remind me again exactly why I got into a career field where people's livelihood depended on me. But then I remember, I think about my dad. I think about, you know, the many couples, the many clients that we have where there's a real relationship now where they call me and we talk, we're friends, and, you know, we fellowship together, and the change that I've seen in them for the good and for myself as well.
Welcome back to the Money Drill, where today we are drilling down on RMDs, required minimum distributions, and what you need to know about them, how they affect all aspects of your retirement planning. And I mentioned before the commercial break, Eric, that I wanted to touch on some of the traps, the common traps that folks can fall into, because a lot of people think that they can do this calculation on their own, do it at home. And our whole point is, gosh, it is so complicated, so convoluted. And if you get it wrong, then you're also subject not only to the tax that you owe, but that 25% penalty. And we don't want you to have to make that mistake. So let's go on these rapid fire. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get it.
Okay, perfect. So the first one, we kind of already touched on this earlier in the show, but a common trap is, folks, because that first RMD, you can defer it to that April 1st of the year following the year you turn 73. And why, again, is that a trap?
Because then you have to take 2 in one single year.
Yes.
You know, and you could even split it. Some people do this. Say your RMD is 20,000, they take 10,000 before December 31st. They take 10,000 before April 1st, or whatever the calculation comes out to be.
Sure.
But then they have to take that second year distribution that same year. So depending on how much the RMD is, it drives you into a different tax bracket.
Right.
And so you have to take 2 that year, because only the first year do you get to defer those 4-month grace periods.
Yes, absolutely. So that's just a trap you want to
That's
avoid.
right. You do not want to do that.
All right, second trap on my list is failure to adjust your RMD calculation if you are still working. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, you know, there's, first of all workplace retirement plans, so 401k, 403bs, 457s, if you have them, you know, I know some people, they leave one job, they go to another job, and they don't roll anything over or combine.
Right. They have all these accounts floating around out there.
Floating around. You have to take a distribution from every single one of those workplace plans. So if you have a 401k at Exxon, then you go to Shell or Motiva, you have to take it from both places if you don't consolidate.
Right. Yeah.
Now, you can, if you have multiple IRAs, you could take one distribution from all the IRAs, okay, but not from 401ks. If you have, so example, you have 3 IRAs and 3 workplace plans, that means you're taking 4 total distributions, because and they'll have to add up, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. And then number 2 is, if you're still working in your RMD age, pending the plan rules, they might allow you to defer your RMDs within that specific 401k.
Right.
Okay, so does it get you off the hook for the other 401k that you have?
Sure.
Get you off the hook for the one that you're currently enrolled in. So say someone has been with a company for 50 years, 30 years, whatever the number is, and they're 75 years old, they're still working. Depending the plan rules, they can possibly be eligible to defer the RMDs while they're still employed inside the current workplace plan that they're utilizing.
Right. Gosh, so much again
Yeah,
to know.
again, yes. And the thing is, Krista, there is no way that we're trying to tell people you're not smart enough to figure this out.
Right.
We're just saying, whenever you don't deal in this space enough, okay? And again, you know, we talked about other advisors, you know, they're not, some of them, I'm not gonna say they don't know, but they don't think about it potentially because they're not specializing in retirement.
Yep.
We specialize in retirement. They might have a lot of younger clients that are not even close to the RMD age, so that's not on their radar.
Yes.
So sometimes they're leaving it out, not out of being mean. They're just leaving it out because they haven't thought about it because they're not in the trenches enough.
Yep.
You know, with this specific demographic, right? So
For sure.
we specialize in this field, retirement financial planning. That's what we do, and so we're in it day in, day out. And so again, people are smart enough to figure it out, but we're in it. Let us do that for you.
Well, and nothing's worse than people thinking they're doing it right. And like you said, maybe they take the right amount, but if you take it from the wrong account, guess what? You're going to be hit with that 25% penalty. I mean,
right.
boom, there it is, right?
You might have thought, I can take it from one.
Right.
I have two 401ks. I'll just take it all from one because you read that somewhere that you might be able to do that.
Right.
Well, now you're hit with that 25% penalty.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. You could have taken it all from one.
Yeah.
But because that other one didn't get it, that
Yep.
means you owe a penalty on that one account.
Right. Are there any other traps that you want to end? I know we only have about a minute left in the show. And there's so much to cover.
Golly, I didn't even realize that. So the thing is, there's so many things to consider with RMDs. You can, if you don't need them, you can use qualified charitable distributions. You can use donor advised funds. There's so many things that you can do with it if you want to give back to 501c3s or to your church. So if you don't know what to do and you need help doing that, come call us, let us sit down with you. We'd be happy to just sit down and be patient and walk through the steps of what it takes to do this successfully. We do it day in and day out. That's what we do. That's who we are. Call us today.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, the message here is don't try this at home. You don't have to go it alone. Eric and the team at Retirement Financial Group would love to walk you through and navigate through the complexities for you. Just call that number on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591. We love you, Southeast Texas. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.